What's up guys, with season 1 right around the corner, it's time to go over Druid's best leveling builds. Now, Druid has notoriously been a pretty bad leveler, and that still remains the case, but recently they did data mine what the aspect rewards will be from the season journey. So I wanted to put a little extra effort into possibly mitigating how poor it is to level on Druid, and giving you guys some of the tips and tricks that I figured out. So taking a look at the season journey rewards, we can see in chapter 1 we get one of the new offensive aspects for Druid called the subterranean aspect. This basically makes it so whenever you use poison creeper, you create a circle of landslides around you. It's not bad. I'd say it's a little weaker without the aftershock aspect, which is drop only, but you can definitely put this on while you're leveling and get a little extra boost out of your poison creeper, which you're probably going to be using anyway. The more important thing though is when we look down here in chapter 2, we actually get the shockwave aspect completely free as long as we complete 9 out of 11 objectives. So our goal should be to use an early game build that can quickly farm up and grind out these chapters. And then you can see here, there's a level 25 requirement. So probably somewhere between 25 and 30, ideally we'd have this chapter 2 completed. We automatically get shockwave and then we switch over into pulverize. So that's what I'm gonna go over today, and let's take a look at it. For Druid specifically, leveling is quite difficult because our codex aspects aren't that good. Most of our strong aspects are drop only and will completely dictate what builds you play. With that in mind, if you check the notes section, you can see I have a shockwave build with pulverize, an aftershock build with landslide, storm chaser build for tornado, and then the lightning storm build, which is what we're going to start with. So basically, if you ever get any of these aspects, you can easily swap over to another build. But remember, they are drop only, they're not in the codex. You can play these builds without the aspects. They won't feel as good, but it's still playable if you're looking to kind of just try something different. So what my goal is going to be is I'm going to look to use Lightning Storm as an early game skill to get up to somewhere between 25 and 30, get the chapter 2 unlocked for Shockwave, and then swap into Pulverize. The reason we're using the Lightning Storm is it's by far the best damage per spirit cost on our early game core skills. You can hit up to 6 enemies with the right upgrades, and even more because it does do a small AoE for only 15 spirit each. The single target damage isn't too crazy, but it's not that big of a problem early game. We can just spam Lightning Storm to kill off elites and huge groups of monsters for very low spirit. It works out really well too because I felt Lightning Storm kind of started to slow down and fall off a little around level 25 to 30, so that'll be perfect time to swap into Pulverize. So let's take a look at the build itself. All of the aspects here are specifically from the codex, so you can go to the dungeon whenever you want and get them. None of them are required for the build. It's just if you want to add a little more to it, you can go do that. The build felt fine to me without any aspects at all, and I used that all the way up to 25. I edited in some of the hearts down here. I'm not sure which ones will be available early. It's not too big of a deal which ones you use. Probably whatever you get, you want to just put them into your jewelry and use them either way. So let's take a look at the skill tree. I have the leveling path over here on the left. Don't worry about following it exactly. It's just kind of give you an idea of the order I went in. Not too big of a deal. I do start out with Wind Shear and I have Fierce Wind Shear. This feels really, really good early, having 20% pretty much permanent move speed. If you don't know, you can actually use Wind Shear on objects in the world and it will keep up the move speed buff. So you don't just have to hit monsters. At any point though, you're more than welcome to switch over to Storm Strike and then go up to Enhanced Storm Strike and then Fierce Storm Strike, which will have much better vulnerable uptime. Then we move down here, we'll grab Lightning Storm, and you want to get Enhanced Lightning Storm as your second point before you start putting more points into Lightning Storm. This is what makes Lightning Storm feel much, much better to play and allows you to keep up your stacks once you get there. For anyone that doesn't know, basically the way Lightning Storm works, when you stand still and channel Lightning Storm, you'll go from 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 5 stacks, and the stacks are how many lightning bolts are coming down at once. If you take this node over here, you can go up to 6. So we'll have this early before we switch over to Primal later. So your main goal with Lightning Storm is you want to stack up to 5 or 6, and then you want to alternate essentially. You want to use Wind Shear and then Lightning Storm, Wind Shear and then Lightning Storm. This will allow you to keep up both the movement speed on Wind Shear and the stack count on Lightning Storm to hit as many monsters as possible. They almost go completely even because it's 13 spirit. Once you get a couple points into abundance, you can get it up to 15 spirit, and then it'll be exactly 15 cost and then 15 gained. As we move on down, there's a few options. You can look to grab Earthen Bulwark with Unstoppable here. I kind of just look at Bloodhound. You can get the cooldown reduction and then some spirit gain. If you notice you're not having spirit problems, you can also go for the attack speed node. This is nice early on for sustain, so you don't have to spam your potions. Poison Creeper is really good early. This won't do too much for us later, but it does enable a lot of things like Nature's Reach, which gives us damage against immobilized enemies. And it is really strong damage early. I actually prefer to use this as my single target damage. It's a big AoE, but Lightning Storm has pretty good AoE coverage. I kind of save this for whenever I fight an elite to kill it quickly. As we move down here, you're going to want to grab Trample next. Trample got buffed recently with Savage Trample, now giving double the amount of spirit it was before. This is going to feel great. Trample is an unstoppable and our movement cooldown, so we can use this to move around or get out of crowd control, along with supplementing good spirit gain. On top of that, the node behind it, Enhanced Trample, actually makes Trample do pretty good damage. So Lightning Storm, like I said, does suffer a little bit with single target damage, so you can actually use this to charge through an elite and pretty much one-shot a lot of early elites. As we move down here, you can look to grab Petrify. Like I said, you could have Earthen Bulwark as well. There's a few options to go for. I kind of filled out the tree fully, just in case you are enjoying Lightning Storm and you don't want to switch over to something else, you can stick with it. Like I said, it does feel like it starts to fall off, so don't feel bad if you want to swap off of it. On our capstones, I have Ursine Strength. For people that don't know, the damage portion, when healthy, deal 30% increased damage, does not require a wear bear form, so this is just a 30% damage increase. You can go Perfect Storm, but I thought it was a little difficult to keep up vulnerable, immobilized, or slowed with this build. Ursine just felt kind of better overall. Make sure you go into the notes section. As I said, I have tons of things I'm trying to keep track of in here. Specifically, the season journeys is one thing. Another thing I included was about the spirit boons. I actually don't recommend going to do the Druid class quest right at 15. You certainly can, there's nothing wrong with that, but I like to avoid having to constantly go back and forth to the sort of class hall to get my spirit boon upgrades whenever I get enough of the spirit offerings. So what I actually do is I wait until I get 50 spirit offerings in my inventory, and then I go do it. That could be anywhere around like level 17, level 18. The reason I do that is because whenever you complete the quest, it gives you 25 spirit offerings. So you have a total of 75 spirit offerings. What you can do then with those 75 spirit offerings is you can give 25 to deer, 25 to eagle, 25 to wolf. This immediately gives you 3 spirit boons right off the bat, and they're all pretty solid. Pack Leader being able to reset Poison Creeper feels pretty good. 5% crit chance, which feeds into Pack Leader, is just more damage. And believe it or not, the Thorns on Prickle Skin is pretty good early and quite helpful for Druid. You can go here as soon as you want at 15, but you'll only be able to grab one of these, and then you'll have to come back each time you want to add more. I thought this felt pretty good, and then I didn't come back again until I had enough to fill them all out. Down here, as I mentioned, I included the season journeys. So for chapter 1, you only need to complete 7 of the 9 objectives. Now, I have it set up to where I think these 2 down here are probably the 2 you're going to end up skipping. You can collect the 15 Galavine, but it's not always consistent in where you'll be able to find them, but that one might be completed automatically for you. These are the 7 that I would look to complete, and it's actually really easy. If you take a look over here, this is kind of the starting leveling route that people are sort of passing around. I've included in the notes. Once you start in Kiovashad, you leave and you do an event here. You grab the waypoint, you do 2 more events, and then number 4 is a cellar, and then number 5 is a dungeon. This works really well with chapter 1, almost completing all of them on its own. At the end of the route, you will complete a dungeon, which checkmarks this one. Collect a Malignant Heart. I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to just get these pretty easily while leveling. If there is a quest associated with this, just make sure you're doing this as soon as you can. I don't think there's any reason to wait. Collect a Whispering Key. Very easy to do. When you follow the events and you do them, you'll get obols. All you have to do is go to the Purveyor of Curiosities to buy a key. Only 20 points, and you get at least 20 from the events. Complete a world event. Again, we're doing events on the way, so that's good. Salvage 10 normal items at the blacksmith. You should get plenty of normal items early. Just make sure you're picking them up off the ground and you salvage them instead of sell them. Complete 1 cellar. Again, right at the end, we have cellar on that number 4. Complete 3 dungeons in Fractured Peaks. Now, this doesn't say that they need to be separate dungeons, so I'm not entirely sure if you could just do the same dungeon over and over. If you can't do the same dungeon over and over, you can just complete that 1 dungeon on the end. And I'm going to show you the other dungeon that I've been running that I really liked. So early on, I've actually been testing out spamming Caldera Gate, with Lightning Storm, and I've really liked it. The big thing being there's no boss at the end of the dungeon, and there's tons of healing wells, shrines, and corridors where you get so many events in here. You're gonna get probably 2 to 3 events every time you run through here. It's felt really good so far, and to get our 3 dungeons done, we could easily just run this over and over, but if it requires individual or separate dungeons, Caldera Gate plus Nostrava Deepwood, which is at the end of that route, are 2 very easy ones to get. Taking a look at chapter 2, we need 9 out of 11 objectives, and 10 of them are actually pretty easy to get. Change your gear's appearance 5 times at the wardrobe. Reach level 25. Again, this is probably why we'll probably wait until at least 25 to swap. Upgrade your potion to minor at the alchemist. Craft any chipped gem, so make sure you're picking up gems off the ground for this. Interact with 10 waypoints for faster travel to new places. Not any in particular waypoints. Maybe this will count the 5 you have automatically unlocked. Not sure. If not, just grab any 10 waypoints. It shouldn't be too big of a problem. Conquer a stronghold. Because we're a druid, we have to do a stronghold for our class quest, so that'll automatically get completed. Upgrade 2 items at the blacksmith or jeweler. Super easy to do. It doesn't cost very much at all to do that. Collect 3 malignant hearts. I'm pretty sure these won't be too hard to get. I think we'll get them early and often, so this should be pretty simple. Complete 10 cellars. Again, cellars, you pretty much just kind of run around and complete them. Not very difficult. You might even be able to run in and out of the same cellar. If you say run a dungeon, run over, do the cellar, run a dungeon, do the cellar, you could just go back and forth. Collect 15 demon hearts. If you do Caldera Gate, I had at least 15 hearts before even level 10, so I think this should be pretty easy to do. Complete 5 malignant tunnels. I don't know how difficult it'll be to do tunnels, but we only need 9 out of 11. And once we get that completed for chapter 2, we have access to Shockwave. So taking a quick look at the Shockwave Pulverized build, this is pretty much going to carry you for quite a while. So you're going to want to do this. Shockwave and Pulverize is very strong. The big thing I want to call out is do not put Shockwave on your weapon. The reason for that is you will constantly be changing your weapon, so you will just lose the aspect if they just give us one aspect. So make sure you're putting it on an amulet. I think that's going to be the most important part. You get the bonus, and it's not a big deal if you don't change your amulet out. So again, do not put it on your weapon. I'm afraid a lot of people are going to do that and they're going to lose it, so keep that in mind. Some of these are really important. Aspect of the Ursine Horror. This is in a level 38 dungeon in Hebazar. I actually was able to complete the dungeon at level 30 on World Tier 1. You don't have to do it on World Tier 2. So you can go as soon as you feel comfortable because you will have Shockwave, so it won't be too bad. I wouldn't recommend going too early though, and wasting your time. Like I said, I did it at level 30. It wasn't too bad. So wait a little bit or go around 30, I'd say would be the way to go. Some other, these are all codex aspects, of course, minus Shockwave, which comes from the journey. Aspect of the Umbral will feel really good for a lot of reasons. We add Quicksand in, which with Ursine Horror gets us more, gets us our Earth skill, which gets us more Umbral procs, so on and so forth. Pretty much the standard Shockwave build. Couple more hearts down here. Maybe they'll do something. Maybe we'll have them. Not sure. You can check the Spirit Boons down here. Obsidian Slam will be pretty solid once we get Ursine Horror, which shouldn't take too long to get. I also put a point in Energize, which will help out with the Spirit Gen, along with Umbral. Once we move into the skill tree, I'll go over it real quick. The idea behind this is once you unlock Ursine Horror, you can kind of go into what people call like Resonance Pulverize, where essentially you're kind of shifting back and forth between bear form and human form with Storm Strike. So you're going to use Storm Strike. This will help keep up your vulnerable on the target, and then you're going to Pulverize, and you're going to go back and forth between Pulverize, Storm Strike, Pulverize, Storm Strike. With 3% crit nearby, again, you can check the path over here to follow this. We have Bulwark, which gives us Unstoppable and some sources of Fortify, because we're going to go with Retaliation and other Fortify buffs like Ballistic. We have Blood Howl here for we can get some Spirit or attack power, attack speed, whichever you prefer. Poison Creeper here for our Poison Synergy. That unlocks Envenom down here. We're going to have pretty decent crit chance while leveling, and this is a huge damage buff when you do get it off, and Poison Creeper just does pretty good damage. We also have Clarity here. This is going to come into play when we use Pulverize, then we use Storm Strike to go back into human form. That'll give us 6 extra Spirit to help us avoid the Spirit cost. We have some Earth synergies over here because we did go Ursine Horror. So we have damage against crowd controlled enemies, damage if our Fortify is higher, and we have Fortify generation here. Down here we have just more and more buffs. So this is the big one, Resonance here. This will get tripled to 18% whenever we use Storm Strike in between each Pulverize. Down here, we have more Fortify gain by switching back and forth between our forms. Quick Shift will do more damage for our pulverize when we go from human form because of Storm Strike. We get some damage reduction here. And finally, we have Urshine's Strength, which is just while healthy, deal increased damage. And because we're going in and out of werebear form, we're actually gaining the maximum life as well. I mentioned that I included a couple other builds. I'm not going to go over them right now, but in there you'll see Landslide with if you get Aftershock, and then we also have Tornado with Storm Chaser. Now I will say you can play both of these builds without Storm Chaser and without Aftershock. Tornado actually feels pretty good, believe it or not, but not until specifically you get Perfect Storm. I would wait until you get this, and then when you have Perfect Storm plus Hurricane and Umbral, you can actually play Tornado without Storm Chaser. It's not bad. I definitely would say your single target damage will suffer without Storm Chaser, so I don't highly recommend this, but if you want to try something different, by all means, go for it. For Landslide specifically, you also don't need Aftershock, and in Chapter 1, we'll be getting the Subterranean aspect, which is pretty good for it. It doesn't feel as good without Aftershock, I will say that, but again, if you want to try something different, I'd say go for it. I'm going to include all these in the notes section. I'll have this pulled up here, so you can see all the builds up here. You'll be able to click the video here, and if you want, you'll be able to access it here. That's going to be it for me. I hope you guys learned a lot from this video. Leveling as Druid, like I said, can be quite rough, but with access to Shockwave in the season journey, I think it'll help a decent bit smooth it out. I think overall in the patch, Druid did get some nerfs, but is still looking like one of the strongest classes, comparatively speaking. I think the loss of some of the quality of life on a lot of the builds is gonna not feel as good, but specifically in terms of how much damage we do, the class still does an insane amount of damage. The hard part is just leveling up to get there. So I really hope this helps you guys out. If you have any questions at all, or if you think I missed something or didn't include something, share it all down below in the comment section. And I hope everyone has a good season 1 start. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.